Hello, I'm Gia Mills and I've been a celebrity makeup artist for the past 20 years. I'm also the founder of a sweat-friendly cosmetics brand and I am fascinated by appearance politics and the incredible power of makeup. In True Reflections, we get to peek behind the curtain and find out what our favourite celebrities really feel about their appearance when the glare of the media is upon them. We discover what beauty really means to them and the hidden truths that often go unnoticed. So who is with me today? Today, my guest, we raise a toast to her every Saturday morning on Saturday Kitchen. But away from the wine, on a weekday, you can find her with a cup of tea writing one of her brilliant novels, including her brand new book, Under a Riviera Moon, which I'm loving, out by now. So please welcome to True Reflections, not just a knackered mother, but a beautiful knackered mum who started her life going to space to defend the galaxy. It's Helen McGinn.
Hi, Gia.
Hello.
How are you, darling?
Really lovely to see you. And I am so excited because you and I met, did you know it was 30 years ago?
Oh my,
Or 31 years ago.
was it really?
Yes.
That is extraordinary.
Literally, they do say the age that you first meet someone when they're a grown-up, not when they're like
Day.
3 or 4, when you're a grown-up is how you always see them.
Oh,
And you just look so well and gorgeous and glowing.
back at you.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly.
I love a sort of girly, sort of like loving of like appreciation. But
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. And I'm really excited because I knew you 30 years ago and there's a lot that's happened since then.
Yes.
But I think we were in the same circle of friends. I know you quite well, but not that well. And I'm just intrigued to know from a beauty point of view, what did, at uni, at school, what did beauty look like? What inspired you? Who did you look to in beauty growing up?
Well, I think probably, as a lot of people must have had as well, I just remember my granny's dressing room table was a thing of absolute joy because she had all her lotions and potions and powders. It was that classic dressing table with the mirror.
I love those mirrors.
And you would go in and just smell, smelling the creams or smelling the perfumes. I always loved that. But myself with makeup, actually, I had quite a low maintenance relationship with makeup for quite a long time. I think maybe because I was at a girls' school to start with where it was absolutely no makeup, and if ever anyone thought you had any on, you were literally sent to the bathroom to go and take it off.
So it was kind of like makeup was seen as a sort of bad thing to be wearing, to be using, and you had to sort of embrace your kind of naturalness when you were at school.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe there was something about being at a girls' school you didn't really sort of worry about.
Yeah, maybe.
Like that. There was no one to impress.
Well, exactly. But then that's an interesting one because it's like, are we impressing men with makeup or are we impressing our friends? And everyone says we dress to impress our friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think at that age, you're just kind of getting on with life.
Like 14, 15,
Yeah.
16, so it wasn't really a thing. And then I guess as I went through my 20s, my job then was very much a travelling job. So that was when I went into wine. And so 1 week out of 4, I was off somewhere anyway. So I always had a bag packed in the bedroom ready to go. So again, that probably carried, and also a lot of my job was spent outside in a vineyard. So my beauty regime was probably just making sure I had some good sunscreen on because I was in hot places. So I was always very good with my But I have got there's Mediterranean blood in the family.
Oh, so what's your family heritage?
There's French, there's some Portuguese, I think. We're a bit of a mix. But I've always been quite lucky that I've got skin that seems to not mind the sun.
So what's your favourite SPF? What's your go-to that you love?
Well, so this goes back to my granny's dressing table.
Yeah.
She always had Clarins on there, and I've never been able to quite wean myself off the really nice Clarins.
It just smells so nice.
It smells so nice, yeah, exactly.
Clarins has a smell about it, and always has. Old school, but it's kind of like it got it right very early on.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, we don't stop liking a certain smell.
Yeah.
If a smell is good, it's always good, and it's very timeless. And
but also, I guess probably because of what I went into, for me, smell is so evocative. Like, with the wine, I always think that you smell a certain smell and it does have the power to transport you back to a place or a time in your life that you love.
Isn't it a part of your brain? There's a part in your brain that's very close to memory. The smell, is it olfactory?
Olfactory.
Never bloody. I just can never say that word. Or a factory.
Yes,
It's
but
very
that's
close
the
to your
trigger.
memory.
That's
Yeah.
very often the trigger. And our sense of smell is 5 times more powerful than our sense of taste. So we often, when we're talking about wine, we talk about smelling it rather than tasting it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go off topic too early.
No. It's just not. It's nice to go off on tangents. I always try and sort of keep roughly to sort of vaguely know what I'm doing. But I just want to know. We'll come back onto wine, obviously, and all sorts of other juicy things. But what were your? Did you have any makeup fails? Anything that kind of went totally wrong? I mean, from university, I don't remember anything going wrong. I thought we always looked gorgeous, and I don't think we were really that into wearing that much makeup at uni.
I think that's the thing. We weren't. We were in that lovely era, maybe pre-social media as well. I think we all had a fairly low key approach to makeup in those days.
Lucky if we put a bit of mascara on.
It really was.
It.
Yeah, I think that was about it. And also a young jeans. I mean, you could wake up after a late night and still be able to get through a day and not. I mean, now if I have a late night, I'm paying for it a week later.
But
my skin really.
But we had the that phrase, beer goggles. So literally,
you're all beautiful.
But when you put your beer goggles on, it was like you might have. Well, you probably didn't, but I might have kissed someone, and the next day they're like, do you know who you kissed? It's like, yeah, beer goggles on, i.e. anyone looked good. So blokes probably did the same with us. Like they had their beer goggles on and they didn't notice we were makeup. It's like, here's a girl, I can vaguely see her. Oh, she's cute. Right, that'll do.
That'll do.
Yeah, so I think, the youth, you weren't wearing that much makeup.
So it wasn't then, but then there was a time I remember, this is probably late 80s. So then if you think, I mean, I loved Duran Duran and I loved the Rio video.
Yeah.
For me, the idea of beauty was the girl on the Rio record cover with her very dramatic 80s makeup.
That is the most incredible picture, and I have
amazing, isn't it?
There's an artist, and I was looking it up the other day because on my brand, our aesthetic is basically that. It's kind of retro,
isn't it?
Retro 80s, kind of that sort of go faster, Athena poster look.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
Yeah, very, very much. So it was that sort of vibe, and I do remember having a brush with the whole blue and pink eyeshadow. Blue on the bottom, pink on the top.
Blue on the bottom, what underneath?
No, as on the lid, and then pink up here.
Oh my god!
And I don't think I managed to get out of the house without my mother catching me and telling me to go and take it off. So I guess I was quite low key with the whole makeup thing, but then I think you get to an age where you suddenly realise that you can help yourself. You don't need to, and then it's not about doing it for anyone else. Then it's about doing it for you.
I think when you're younger, you kind of do it for fitting in, being part of a tribe, feeling, it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you're feeling better for different reasons. It's not because I want the male gaze, let's say, to find me more attractive. It's like, this is how I want to look, and I want to feel good in myself.
That's totally it.
But what I love is you were probably not wearing makeup when you first met your husband, and it's such a wonderful story. Tell me about how old were you when you met your husband?
So I met him when I was 4 years old at the local primary school. And I basically followed him around the playground until he gave up. Because his first words to me were, "Stop following me," genuinely. But I carried on. I'm nothing if not persistent. And actually, we've been together since we were 15. Yeah.
You met at 4.
Yeah.
But then properly. And didn't you travel to the galaxy somewhere?
Gosh, well, yeah. So there was at the time there was a cartoon called Battle of the Planets, and that was what we used to play.
Okay.
You're all far too young to remember that, but
I mean younger than you.
It was a big thing at the time, and we'd go out in the playground and play that. We'd all had different characters, and so I remember for one day and one day only, I was the princess to his captain of the spaceship. That sort of basically made my day, my week when I was 5 years old. But we've been together we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, which is insane.
That's amazing.
Just last week, I can't believe it. Because we've known each other since we were so young, we both still feel about 22.
I love that. But you could have a meeting anniversary.
Yes.
When you were 4.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I just, what I think so beautiful is it's like an ultimate love story.
Oh.
Which is, from reading your book, Under a Riviera Moon, which literally have read in like 3 days. I'm nearly finished. I'm so absorbed, but it's this love story. So you started a love story at 4,
Yeah.
and now what's lovely is you've now come to be writing beautiful love stories, and I can sort of see parts of you threaded through.
Oh, can you?
Because you mention about a parent, the Maggie's parent,
Yeah.
and how they've just known each other
Yeah.
for such a long time, and how you reference that.
Yeah.
So you bring it. How much of your sort of background do you bring into books, and in particular this one?
Good. That's really interesting, because I'd probably do it without even noticing. I mean, I have, because this is now my 5th fiction book, and I have noticed that there is always a really lovely. I love writing about the relationship between 2 women where one is younger and one is older. So you've got the sort of 30 or 40 or 50-year age difference, because I love the idea of them learning from each other. Actually, I love the idea of it's different to a mother giving you advice, when it needs to be somebody once removed, and they need to have a friendship in their own right, and then you can really share experiences, and it's more about the young person asking questions. They want to know, what's your perspective on this, rather than the old person just saying, well, this is how I did it. It's more nuanced than that. And I think I've had some of those friendships in my life that are really important to me. But the stability thing, that's really interesting, because there is, generally speaking, always a pretty solid couple in each book. But then I try and make sure there's a reflection of everything else as well.
And do you get from some of your friends the full insider chat on what that journey is for people who haven't necessarily had that consistent relationship? Because it is, I imagine it's pretty rare, and most of us have had the sort of ups and downs in relationships, and you're just this lovely person bringing all of that together in a book, and I absolutely love it, and I literally feel like I've literally melted into it, and I'm transported, and it's been a really good tonic, actually.
That's what I hope, is I hope that the book does transport you, because a very wise friend once said to me, life isn't a fairy tale, which is, it's true. Bad things happen to everyone, but I didn't want to write a book where necessarily, so things will happen that aren't necessarily brilliant for the character, but it's to show how you get through that, and how you then keep going and move forward and find the positives, because that's how life is. That's really the true reflection. And I definitely draw on friends' experiences as I go through, and not what I always try and do is make sure that it's not one person's experience, it's bits of, but that's part of being a writer, I think, because I've learned that it's just stories go in and stay with me, and it takes me a while to ferment the ideas for a book.
Good. I like the wine.
Yeah, you just have to let it sit for a while, and then the creative aspect is that you take a story that you might have heard. So in this one there's a part about fertility there. So I had my own issues with fertility for a while. I'm very lucky. I've got 3 children, teenage children, but having been through that, it gave me an understanding, but my story ended differently. So I wanted to try and explore it, but very much understanding that I need to be in someone else's shoes. So you read a lot about it, you talk to people, you just take these stories in, and then hopefully distill them into something a bit different.
Well, I think the way you do the characters is nuanced, and it just feels you can identify in different ways with different people, and it is like the older female in it, the rather glamorous lady.
I love her.
You do feel that she's sort of giving you wise advice, and I'm reading it as if I'm talking. An older woman is talking to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beautiful, and
plus also she's so super glam.
Is she based on anybody?
It's an amalgamation of people, but there are people in life that you remember because they always looked so effortlessly gorgeous. They're just stylish. Like they could throw on anything and they look stylish, and she's one of those people.
Because it's funny, because you said, when we were younger, we were saying that you didn't wear much makeup, and now you're sort of describing a really glamorous woman, a more mature glamorous woman. And as you were saying earlier, how you have sort of got more into makeup and the glamour, not hard, you're just very beautifully you, but you're not you're now leaning in a bit more.
Oh, I'm more than leaning in. I am fully on board. So
what I want to know is, what products do you use now? Because I think it's absolutely fascinating to learn what people use. As a makeup artist, I'm standing, when I work with other makeup artists, I am fascinated, like, what are you using? Why are you using that? As much as I love finding out what other people use. So tell me, what are your main go-tos these days? You can't live without some of your makeup bag.
So I would say, because I do like to chop and change and try different things. So apart from the Clarins SPF, which is exactly a lifelong love affair. But other ones, there'll be things that actually are used on me that I'll take a photo of and then go and try myself. But at the moment, I would say the Bobbi Brown Vitamin E, the face base, first thing in the morning.
Quite a few people love that.
Love that.
I've had a few people.
I think because it's got a very lovely cooling action as well, and because sometimes my mornings are very early. If I'm doing telly, I'm up at 4:30 or maybe 4:45 in the morning, and as a woman very firmly in menopause, sleep isn't always brilliant. So to get up and put something like that on your face just feels like
a drink that seeps into your skin.
My skin literally just swallows it up. So that would be absolutely one of my go-tos. I love, again, this is just because I happened to be walking through Boots and I'd forgotten my lipstick and I only had 2 minutes, but I ended up being helped by the most amazing woman on the Dior counter. Now, normally I would never spend that much on an eye, an eye pencil.
Yeah.
But the way she was putting it on my hand, as soon as it was on the hand, I was like, well,
it's just so easy to. As soon as you put, there's a thing about when you put products actually on people's skins, even their hand, they're way more likely to buy.
Definitely.
Having my own brand, I know this. When you put a bit of product on someone, or you're actually touching it, you're so much more like, oh,
I have to. But even though it costs probably twice as much as I would normally spend on an eye pencil, I've worn it so much more and loved wearing it as well, because you're going to put it on and it's going to stay.
There's a joy.
So you don't have to worry about it.
When you treat yourself to certain makeup things, it's like a treasure, and you're like, who's this?
Yeah.
But where do you tell me, where do you put your makeup on? Where do you put it on at home? Tell me where you put your makeup on, Helen.
So if I am working on camera, then obviously I'm lucky enough that somebody else does that for me. So I will pitch up with absolutely nothing but the Bobbi Brown cream on, and then the rest is done. And I love that because I now understand what a brilliant art it is. Because from when I started, when I started having my makeup done professionally, it was more for print media, for telly, because I have written for newspapers for a long time. And of course, when you're having makeup put on for print, that's quite, it has to be quite heavy because of the nature of it being a print. As you know, it's different.
You've got bright flashes and it will literally
quite unforgiving.
It will get rid of a lot of the makeup, so you have to go extra.
And I remember as somebody who didn't wear a lot of makeup to that, I just didn't feel myself at all. And
if you look in the mirror, everyone goes, oh, wait, just wait till some photograph.
Exactly.
And then you'll see, and you're like, oh.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. And you see the photograph and you're like, actually, thank God someone did my makeup.
Hello.
But with the telly, what I really love is there are a couple of makeup artists that do my makeup regularly, and we know each other so well, and I so trust the process that I sit in the chair and I don't even look at my face because the mirror's right there and we're chatting and the brushes are there, so I like to not see my face, so at the end it's a surprise. It's a real before and after. And considering how I looked at 4:30 in the morning to how I look when I go on, let's just say there's real progress there. And I love it. I love it. I love that it's encouraged me to use colour on my face. It's encouraged me to use, lipsticks that I would never have imagined doing anything other than, just a natural lip balm. But no, I really enjoy it.
I think it is lovely when you have makeup artists who do make you think differently, and it is nice to explore stuff. And I think it's sort of tentatively exploring, because you don't want to spend too much money on products. No. And then you're like, oh, that's not going to work. But I often get given products, or I buy stuff, and if I don't like, I hand it on to someone I think it's going to really work with, so people can we can all share and explore, which I think is a really nice way to kind of
during
discover.
Lockdown, so for 2 years I had to do Saturday Kitchen from home.
Okay.
Because of the rules of how many people you could have in the studio. So I was on Zoom for 2 years doing an hour and a half of live telly.
So
And
doing your own makeup.
The only thing that worried me about it was doing my own makeup. So I remember texting Makeup Mel and saying, what do I do? You know, what do I do? I'm going to be, it's on Zoom and it's that time.
Because Zoom is a different beast. It's
Zoom's a different beast,
and
exactly.
How you put yourself in Zoom is very different to how you will be on camera, on camera in a studio.
Totally. I mean, I have to say I was half dressed for the entirety. Always had a nice top on and then tracksuit bottoms on underneath. But she was like, Helen, just bronzer. Just lots and lots and lots of colour on your face, because whatever you do with Zoom, it will just slightly, wash you out. And I am a huge bronzer addict anyway. So
which is your favourite bronzer?
So for that, I invested in the Chanel.
Oh yeah, I can never pronounce it.
Which is
Soleil.
But it's, I mean, one pot will last me anyway. It lasts me a year easily because I don't use it every day. But if I'm having to put on some sparkly bronzer, then that's the one.
We'll add that into the notes. But and I think what I love, people know you from Saturday Kitchen, and it's a brilliant show. So you're there super early, and you're kind of having to sort of be all perky and sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So we now know your sort of makeup process. And how long have you been on the show on Saturday Kitchen?
So I've done Saturday Kitchen must be about 6 years now, I guess, that I've been doing that. And 2019 I started. And then, but my first telly actually was about 15 years ago, and I've started, it was, the blog had come out, the book of the blog had come out, so the Knackered Mother's Wine Guide had come out, and I remember getting a call from a TV producer who asked if I wanted to have a chat about being a wine expert on the Alan Titchmarsh show, which was a weekday. He had a chat show 5 days a week, I think, back in the day. And of course, the idea of going and talking about wine on telly once a week was so different. And because by then I'd left my job of being the wine bar, I'd had the kids, I was definitely ready to do something different. So I was working in wine, but the blog had started, which became a book. So when I got this call, I jumped at it and went for this meeting. And I remember sitting in this office with about 6 or 7 people and me, and no one seemed remotely bothered that I'd never done any TV in my life before. I'd had some media training when I was working for the big supermarket I worked at for years, but that was basically to answer difficult questions. So I just remember thinking, well, no one else seems bothered, so maybe I'll just go with it.
So
how hard can it be?
Well, and here we are.
A
long time later. And so you had Alan Titchmarsh as your key.
That was my learning.
As your first one.
Yeah, and I remember I had Nadia Sawalha was the celebrity chef on the same show.
And Mike Tibbett is your current.
Matt Tibbett, yeah.
So Matt Tibbett is your guy now.
So he's my guy now. So that's why Matt is so good at what he does, because he can do the cooking with his eyes closed, because that's what he does. So to be able to chop and chat at the same time, not everybody
it's quite
can do it.
A thing.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, because I think it's not until you see him doing it that you realise just how relaxed he is about doing what he's doing. I guess it's the same as talking about wine. So I genuinely don't get nervous about talking about wine because I'm talking about my specialist subject. But I do get ridiculously overexcited because I'm often sitting next to somebody that I have watched on telly forever, or read their books. And so I'm constantly starstruck. I'm constantly being told in my ear to shut my mouth because sometimes I just forget.
Oh no, I think I love it. Who's been
be staring at them.
That's so funny. So if you had your very own show, similar to Saturday Kitchen, who would be your favourite guest presenter?
Well, I'll tell you who has covered for Matt when he's been away, who, same thing, can do both and make it look really easy, is Angela Hartnett.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And again, because she's interested in people, so she'll be cooking away, but actually she's totally in the conversation. So she can do both, and not everybody can.
No, it seems they make it look really effortless.
Yeah, they do.
But for you, I'm fascinated because you have to do, do your pairings, your wine, and your food. Yeah. I mean, do they sort of give you budgets? Do you just go home, and how does that process
So
work?
I'm sent the recipes at the beginning of the week. So the 2 guest chefs, I will match the wines with their food at home. And so generally speaking, I'll have a pretty good idea about which wine I think will work the best, but sometimes it's not always the one that I go to straight away. Sometimes it's like a surprise. So the wines are sorted before we go on it, obviously before I get to the studio. So all my research is done. So all I need to do then is just talk about why the match works. But honestly, I feel like I have the most lovely job on television, because all I have to do is sit there, drink wine, pour wine, chat about it, enjoy the chat, and I get served amazing food. Amazing.
Do you ever feel a bit tiddly when you're on air?
No, I'm a professional.
How do you not get tiddly?
Because I will only small sip.
Okay.
Small sip.
Has anyone ever got tipsy on the show?
Okay. I can't say who, but a long time ago, and this was on the Alan Titchmarsh show, I remember there was a girl band on, and I poured the wine in the break because we were coming to our wine tasting next. And by the time we cut back and it was live, the wine had gone. Like all three of them had just, the whole lot had gone. So I was just like, just to tip a little bit at the bottom. I can't tell you who that was. No. But it was very funny.
I like that. Those little insights. Yeah. Because you can't, get a bit sort of lightheaded. And what I love is how you describe wine. And in your book, Under Riviera Moon, which I as loving.
I'm so
you have lots of lovely references to wine, because you're in south of France, you're in Paris, and it's so like evocative. And when you talk about the wines, you it's just like, oh, she's good at describing these. Oh yeah, she knows about wine.
Yeah, well, I wanted to weave wine into my fiction, because I'd written the one and only wine book. I said I was only ever going to write one wine book, and I wanted to write like your starter wine book, because as you know, I joined the Wine Society at university, and that's what got me into it.
We used to get lots of wine at university.
Exactly.
It was a good excuse to get free wine as a student.
And in my decade, when I worked as a wine buyer for the supermarket, of course, I would always be asked by friends and family about what to drink and what to buy when they were in the supermarket. So I wrote that one book, but I always said, that's it, no more wine books. But I always harboured a secret desire to write fiction. So I found myself weaving wine into the story, because what I'm hoping is when you're reading this, you'll read about, someone might be sitting in a cafe, they'll have a glass of local wine, and I'll describe it just in a few words. Like, we're not talking a long paragraph, boring paragraph about wine, but just a few flavour references or smells. And I want you to then feel like you want to go and try that glass of wine.
I do.
Oh, that's good. Job done.
Pan in the Old Town, when she's having a glass of wine, and it's a really, really strong one.
Red, yeah.
And the other heroine's like, oh, you haven't tried that wine, have you? And oh, I wonder what that tastes like. If I'm in Cannes, it makes me want to go to Cannes. It makes me want to drink those wines.
Yeah.
But it's great because you just give a little taster, for want of a better term,
of
that wine. So you're like, oh, I'm intrigued.
That's the idea.
But remind me the sort of, I'm really absorbed in the sort of the romance, but the sort of premise of the book. What's the kind of
So the idea is of all the books I've done, I've mentioned wine, but this is the first time that I've actually gone all in and set it in part of it in a wine region. So this is partly set in Provence, hence Under a Riviera Moon. And basically it's a story of Maggie, who comes to a bit of a crossroads in her life, and chance throws an opportunity her way, which is to travel to Provence to meet an older woman who was a friend of her grandmother's, who's got a box of photographs that she wants to return, that she's found. And it's the friendship between Maggie and Allegra that really unfolds, and what happens in Provence. But it's a dual timeline. So we do go back to Paris and New York in the 60s, because I was always fascinated with the feel of the art scene in New York around that time. And I wanted to kind of basically explore that a bit more. So I thought, well, I'm going to make sure that Allegra is American. So we go back to New York and follow her story there. So, I mean, this to me, it's the most challenging one I've written because of the dual timeline. You have to get things absolutely right, and there's a lot of research that goes into it, but I'm hoping that the writing wears the research lightly, because it's not a history lesson.
It doesn't feel heavy. It's got a really light touch to it. I think it's very like a Kate Morton book, but way shorter and much sort of,
I love a short book.
Yeah.
I like short chapters, because I fall asleep before I fit, and I can't go to sleep until I finish the chapter. But If my eyes are closing, that's it.
And then
So-
brain the next night.
It is,
The next night you read a book and you're like, I can't remember what I read.
it is.
Pages. And then you're
For menopausal women, I can tell you, because they're nice short chapters.
But so that's your book. It's out now. But also you are quite well known for liking another author, someone on Mastermind.
Oh,
you
yes.
chose Jackie Collins.
Collins, my absolute heroine.
How do you pick what it is, and how do they advise you on the show?
So you're asked to choose your specialist subject, but obviously being Celebrity Mastermind, it can't be your actual specialist subject. So it couldn't be wine. That would be boring in a way. Going back to makeup, Jackie Collins, I mean, she was growing up. She's so glamorous and got that whole, she's got that real 80s, 90s vibe, Hollywood.
I used to look at the cover of the books with her face on it,
and
try and copy how she did the makeup.
She's incredible, but also all her characters as well. Because I read her books because I think my mum had one on the bookshelf, and so I pinched that, read it. I think it was Lucky was my first one in the sort of late 80s maybe, or mid 80s, and then I basically read the whole Hollywood series and loved them because again the women were glamorous, but also they were unapologetic. They're not always likable, but that makes them interesting.
They were really compelling. I used to love reading some of those.
Completely.
It was a different world. It just took you to another place, and you just felt completely sort of, I want to be a bit like that. And it's lovely to sort of, books can do that. They can bring that whole imagination to life.
Well, and I hope that, the characters in my books, it's not about being saved by someone. It's about figuring out yourself what you need to do in life to reach the point where you're going to be happy.
So now, going back to the important discussion on beauty, how are you feeling about beauty now? How do you feel about, what does society say to you about beauty now? And how are you feeling inside?
So now I feel, like I said to you, I've really lent in, and I do it because it gives me confidence. It makes me feel like, when you've got cameras on you, the last thing I want to do is sit there worrying about what I look like, because I want to be present in the room. And if I'm worrying that, my makeup's wrong or my hair doesn't look right, but when somebody's done that for you, I know the confidence it gives me to just do my job really, as best as I can, because I'm not worrying about anything else. And then I basically just try and steal all the tips I possibly can from the brilliant makeup artists I meet, and try and replicate it at home. Not always to great success, but now it's fun. It's really fun. I mean, makeup should be fun.
It is fun, and I think you've got this lovely innate confidence in you, and I think the makeup can help. But I think that's a thing inside you already, and it feels that. You've kind of said before that you just have this lovely confidence in yourself. Beauty now looks like that energy inside.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope so.
Well, Helen,
it is. It's one of those things where sometimes sometimes you feel like you have definitely got to buck up and put a face on, and then it feels like hard work. But if you can just wake up and feel like excited about what you're going to do, excited about what you're going to talk about, who you're going to meet, then that's it.
A massive thank you to Helen McGinn. Her book, Under a Riviera Moon, is out to buy now. That's it for True Reflections this week. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. You can find me across your social media by searching @True Reflections Podcast. You can also explore my Skin and Motion cosmetics range to help boost your confidence at skin.in.motion on your social media channels. I'll be back next week with another celebrity to talk through their beauty experiences, their favourite products, and delve deeper into how the ideals of beauty shapes not just our physical appearance, but the core of our identities. Until then, have a lovely week.